Hi, Hamid. Regarding Rivian, are you concerned about headwinds related to overall weak EV market and possibly minor Chinese EVs somehow coming to the USA, more likely in Canada?
So, two things about headwinds in the EV market. I think that there might be short-term ups and downs with car vehicle sales in general, and obviously EVs specifically, and largely because there's such few options out there. The most like if you were buying an EV today, your real options in the $50,000 price point are really just Tesla. It's like a Model Y or a Model 3. Like everything else has like all kinds of issues that I would not recommend anybody who's buying an EV to buy anything other than a Tesla today. So, and most people don't want just two choices. So part of the reason why EVs are having a hard time right now is because we've only had two choices for the past 5 years, and everyone who wanted an EV with those two choices has already sort of like picked them. So EV growth has basically flattened to Tesla growth. Now, EVs represent roughly 8% of the overall car market, and someday they're going to represent more than 90%. And that someday is going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years, in my opinion, because it's pretty clear EVs are the future. That's just, they're more efficient, they're better, they're easier, you don't have to go to the gas station. We need to get off of fossil fuels. I mean, there's lots of reasons for it. And generally speaking, they're just way better cars. They can be software run, software updated in every way. So the future is EVs. So as that transition happens, way more EVs are going to be sold in the future than there are today. As soon as we have more choices that are good choices to have. Rivian, I think, is going to be one of those good choices. I think Chinese EV makers will also be some of those good choices. I don't think that the Chinese EV makers will be allowed to sell their vehicles without major tariffs in the US, because if they do, it would basically destroy both Tesla, Rivian, and all other car companies. And I think it would be a national security issue. So I don't see the Chinese EV competition being a major issue because both Europe and the US have to protect their sort of car industries. Otherwise, they're destroying more than $1 trillion worth of revenue from these companies and all the jobs that go along with them to the Chinese car makers. And I just don't see that happening. So not worried about the Chinese. And I think the EV transition is inevitable. It's just the question of whether it takes, 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. It is happening though.
All right,
And
Hamid.
Dustin,
Oh,
before we move on to the next question, what are your thoughts on what I'm saying?
I agree with everything you're saying. To double click on the security risk of bringing Chinese EVs to the US, or really any EV technology that, like, in theory could be hacked. Like, there's some like crazy stuff that could happen in the future. I don't think it will, but like you have these cars that could drive themselves that are connected to the internet. If someone instructs a car to drive a certain way, like there could be some crazy,
National
stuff.
security issues.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't think any of this would happen, and it could happen with literally any of these cars.
Right.
But it does. I think those concerns would play out at a government level where even if they weren't
100%.
real, it would give them enough pause to be like, man, we're not going to allow Chinese
I mean,
EVs.
if we're concerned about TikTok, imagine how
Right.
concerned we would be if your car can drive itself around and its software gets updated by China. Right? Like it's just there's this additional concern. Okay. Let's move on to the next one, Adrian.
okay. Going off of Dustin's comments, we have someone wanting to know, Dustin, do you have any plans to buy Rivian?
So I do own Rivian. 1.5% of my portfolio is in Rivian. Do I plan on buying more? I would like to. The two things. So I tend to move like slow. I don't like rush into my investments. So the one of two things needs to happen. Either Rivian would have to hit a price target that I have set. I don't know what those are off the top of my head, so don't ask. Or I would do a portfolio rebalance, and there's a good chance I'll rebalance my portfolio either sometime at the end of the year or beginning of next year. And if that's the case, it's very likely I would sell some things to buy more Rivian then.
Very
Okay,
cool.
Hamid. I know we're running out of time, but we've had so many great questions. This is another
take one more.
follow-up to. Okay, this is another follow-up to Hamid's Rivian strategy. Hamid, do you plan to buy more Rivian if it goes back to 11, 12 area again?
If all things are equal.
Yeah. So if all things are equal, I just to be clear, I do have a pretty substantial investment in Rivian. It might be my biggest investment from the amount of money I have put into a company, not necessarily the current value of the company.
Yeah, right now
Of
it's
any company I've invested.
13.5% of your portfolio.
Yeah, and I've definitely made 13% investments in the past. Don't get me wrong, but from a dollar amount, this might be the largest dollar amount investment I've made in any company. So, would I buy more at 11 or 12? All things equal, probably. Especially like if I was excited about Autonomy Day. Let's say Autonomy. By the way, I'm going to be there at the Autonomy Day, and plan on doing a short report afterwards. But if I'm excited about Autonomy Day and the market afterwards sells on the news and the stock goes to $10 a share or whatever, I think that would be a missed opportunity if I don't buy some. Now, on the other hand, if some additional news comes out that I don't like, or some something happens, or maybe I'm unimpressed by Autonomy Day and the stock goes down to $10, then it there might be reason to
Then all
even
things are not
sell. Who
equal.
knows? Yeah. So then all things are not equal. Exactly.